This is Business Talk, your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given is not intended to replace that of your business advisor. Now, let's get down to talking about your business, your success. This is Business Talk.
Well, good afternoon, Peg. Here we go again.
Well, good afternoon. Great to be here. I love it.
Is.
I love it. And thank you to our listeners for always being there for us.
Yes. And it looks like spring has finally reached Ohio.
It really has. It took some time, didn't it?
Oh, my goodness.
It did.
Yeah. What did we say? 7 months? October through April, 7 months.
Winter.
Come on.
I said I've been wearing this winter coat since October. Right. Enough.
It's like,
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to shed it. No more. No more.
All right. We give.
We'll tell you our topic. So Pete and I are business coaches, and we come to you every Saturday at this time so that we can share with you what we're teaching others, what other people are applying in different, I like to call them case studies of how different managers and businesses are working with their team in order to grow. Whatever grow means to you, whether it's profitably or personally or literally growing from one position to the other.
Get more done with less effort,
yes.
Those kind of things.
So today's topic is going to be leading up. And what we mean by that is what, Pete?
Well, you could be an employee in a larger company and you have lots of responsibilities on your own. And you also have a manager, a boss, a supervisor, a board. If you're the president of a company and you have a board that you report to. And we want to talk about how you might manage your relationship with those individuals or that person.
Yes, we're going to give you strategies and tips that you can take into action immediately, as well as talk about how other people have been doing this. So we'll give you strategies.
And we'll give you examples from our own experience with our clients, without their names, of course.
Right, to protect the innocent.
Or the guilty.
So that's very good. Yes. All right, Pete, so what do you do every time we start a show?
Every single time we start the show with good news, and there's always good news. And now spring is here. That's good news, right?
Right.
And there's a whole bunch of other good news. Now, I've got this one little article. It's from Washington, D.C. It says the number of Americans claiming new unemployment benefits has never been so low for so long. Wow. Initial jobless claims, which is a proxy for layoffs across the U.S., decreased to a seasonally adjusted 233,000. This means claims have now been below 300,000 for 162 weeks in a row. The longest streak since they started keeping records back in 1967.
That is, wow.
So companies aren't laying people off. And we see this, they're hanging on to people.
Well, because
desperately.
And if you want to look at one of our past shows, which you can find on our website, takeactionbusinesscoaching.com.
Click on 98.9 FM. There's a little icon there up in the upper right corner.
Perfect.
And you can see past shows.
Yes, and one of our past shows is on how retention rate. We talk a little bit about retention rate and how to keep your employees. So
Right. Article number 2, and these are just short things. There is a building boom going on at airports. So they're going to be spending a lot of money rebuilding the country's airports. LAX is going to spend $9 billion, O'Hare $8 billion, Atlanta $6 billion, San Francisco $6 billion, LaGuardia $4 billion, and on and on and on.
Well, with some others, I like that. That's interesting.
Orlando $3.5 billion, Seattle $3 billion, Salt Lake $3 billion. I don't see Columbus on here.
No,
but Reagan National. There's a lot of air travel going on. The economy's pretty good. A lot of people are traveling, and things have been delayed for a while for various reasons, and now they're bumping up funding to rebuild our airports, which is
that's
great.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
This is an interesting one. Kroger is bulking up store staffing. Now, when I'm at the grocery store at Kroger, and I go to Kroger, and they have the aisle where you can go do it yourself, or they have a person, I go to the person. Unless I absolutely have to go through the other thing, I will go to the person. Okay. Because I like to talk to somebody.
Well, now, I'm the opposite, which is funny. Yeah. Now Kroger has those scan and goes.
Yeah. What's a scan and go?
And so when you walk in, they give you a scanner. And I don't know if this is at every store.
Oh, yeah, I haven't done this.
Oh, my goodness.
Get out.
Because you know what's important to me? I value efficiency and time.
Well, I like efficiency.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, but I want to say good morning to somebody.
I don't need to say good morning. I want to be efficient and time. I'll say good morning to everybody out there. But I do. But I am very personable.
Yes, of course you are. Yeah, wink, wink. Yeah, she is. She's very personable.
I am
you
nice.
You like people.
I like people.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah. But Kroger's hiring 11,000 employees to improve customer service and efficiency. And they have 2,800 supermarkets.
Oh, that's
it'll
interesting.
include 2,000 managers and represent a 2% increase to its workforce. The hiring push is part of a 3-year plan to focus on overhauling stores instead of building as many new ones. This is interesting. It wants to put more workers in stores instead of its headquarters. So they're putting more out there. Okay,
oh, you go,
great.
Kroger.
That's
I like that
interesting.
because you know what? Let's focus on customer service and taking care of people. And that's
Yeah,
what,
that's
as
great.
coaches, that's what we want. Huge on customer service.
Right. And the last one here, it's Iowa's labor plight. Too many jobs. So manufacturers in northern Iowa are begging people for freshly trained workers in their factories. They don't have enough students to train. It says in here that 1.3 million people have left the Midwest since 2010.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 1.3 million people. So they don't have enough people to this one company, and they have a picture.
And this is in Iowa.
In Iowa, they have a picture of a welder here. They said they used to get the 450 employee company filled orders in about 8 weeks. Now it takes 18 weeks to fill an order.
Because they don't have enough
They
people.
don't have enough people.
They have to get
Don't
creative.
we know it?
They need creativity.
Yeah, they do.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
At least when we, Pete and I as business coaches work with companies, and sometimes it's a matter of positioning, public image, as well as marketing plan to recruit people.
Sure.
And we help companies with that. So
We do.
interesting. Okay, so Pete, are we ready to dive? We're not going to dive into the topic yet because you've been doing some research,
I
haven't
have
you?
one last thing. I just thought this one was really interesting, and this is
Now, is this good news or is this an educational thing?
This is an educational thing. I thought it was really cool because we're talking
You've
about.
got a few of these. I think.
Trump's got the Art of the Deal book, which I've never read, but I get the idea, and it's about negotiating. And this guy wrote, and this is on the opinion page. So it's an op-ed piece from the Wall Street Journal, and this gentleman, Andy Kessler, is talking about don't be too eager to make a deal. So he learned from this mentor of his, whenever you have a big idea or somebody brings you a big thing, put it on the corner of your desk and let it sit. Just leave it there.
And it's probably to allow the emotion to get out of it.
That is probably why he
That's
doesn't.
why we would, as coaches, tell you
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah.
Because every thought you have becomes emotion before it becomes logic. So if you really want to make a logical decision, you would wait in order to respond. And some people's response, it can get to logic faster than others.
Right. He said you're almost always going to make a better decision, and you may end up getting more by letting it sit.
And let me talk about that right now because we were with a team on last Friday, and we had about five partners in a room, and one of the partners is like, well, let's wait, well, let's see, and you know what? There's a point in which waiting is too long, and that we have to take action.
Right.
So there is a balance of let's not keep it on that corner for too long,
Right.
because then you miss opportunities.
Right.
The speed of the business is based on the speed of the decisions we make.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I like that. And aren't we going to have Chris Voss? Aren't we interviewing Chris Voss next week?
Next week? Yeah.
Next week. So next Saturday, this time, we are interviewing Chris Voss, who wrote the book.
Negotiate as if your life depends on it.
He is probably one of the best. Well, no, I mean, he is the best.
He was a former
negotiator.
FBI hostage team negotiator.
He is the best negotiating class I've
it
ever
was an excellent.
taken.
We saw him in San Diego.
Yeah,
right?
he is
He spoke
phenomenal.
and he was very good.
Please stay
His
tuned.
book is excellent.
Next Saturday, it's
It's an
going to
excellent
be
book.
wonderful. He's excellent. We've seen him speak, and we're just happy to have him on our show next week.
Right.
So let's dive into the lead up. Now, what
the theme
gave you
here
this?
is that we all have people we serve, right? We have our customers, we have our business partners. We may work in a large corporation where we have a president that we report to, or if you're the president, you have a board that you report to.
Or if you're a manager, you might
There's
have a
always
director you report
stakeholders, right?
to. Yes.
But this article is about the right and wrong ways to manage up. And if you have a boss or you've got a board that you got to talk to, is how do you manage that relationship or those relationships? And they're extremely important to your success.
Well, and the reason I just love this topic, Pete, when you said, "Hey, this is Pete creates all of our topics and our research behind everything that we get to share with you guys," and a lot of times it's because of what we're hearing and seeing in our coaching sessions. Really, a lot of times it is. And so when you had this opportunity of, "Hey, Peg, I want to talk about leading up," I have a lot of examples and the strategies that we're going to talk about are strategies we've given some of our
Oh,
clients.
absolutely. And the things that we talk about will work as effectively with people that report to you as they will as to your manager or supervisor or somebody you have to report to.
Right. And probably, and this isn't in the article, but it's something that Pete and I do, is the first thing you have to do as you're leading up is to avoid a few things. Ready? You're not allowed to blame. Like he's an idiot.
Or she.
Or she. Thank you. He or she.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be discriminating that only a boss is a man. But and you can't complain.
No complaining.
No complaining.
Right.
Can't defend yourself. Don't be defending.
Defensive.
Defensive. And then we don't want to hear any excuses. So let's start. We'll start there. When we return, we'll talk a little bit about what you should do in order to lead up to get what you want when you want it.
Fantastic.
Could your business use some help? Call 614-306-7922 to schedule your coaching session. 614-306-7922. Now, here's more business talk.
All right, we're talking today about how to manage your boss.
Yes, how to lead. We're calling it lead up.
Could be your spouse too, right?
You know what? It's really it's good for a lot of things.
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
I mean, we're gonna it uses all, it crosses all parameters.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Absolutely, absolutely.
So we can go right to some of their bullet points.
Okay.
Or what are some of the things that you would say don't do?
Okay, so right before the break, one of the things we said don't do is
Don'ts.
The don'ts are complain, defend, use excuses,
Yep.
or blame.
Okay.
So we want to get away from that. We want to get away from being a victim.
Oh, absolutely.
Those
right.
are all what we call being a victim and creating a lot of reasons why.
And the opposite of that would be to take ownership for whatever's going on, and even the relationship between the two of you. You own it, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be accountable for your own results of your department, your company, your division, whatever it happens to be,
Mm-hmm.
and then be responsible to take the action you need to take, and report to the boss as they need it.
And what
right?
what we want you to do is get results with whatever it is, and so we need you to create a positive environment
Okay.
where positive things happen around you and positive people are attracted to you. So look at the people around you. Who are you associating with? Are they negative or positive? And it's interesting because when we go into organizations and in one of the, I'm thinking this is a company that we coach not in town here. And we have this team we're coaching, and it's a team of about 25 people. And there's 3 negative people out of 25, and 1 they just let go because the negativity was too much.
Is it now 2?
And now it's 2, and it's interesting because all 3 hung together,
Right.
and now the 2 hang together. Likes attract likes. So if you are in an environment or with people where there's a lot of negativity, a lot of, oh, do you believe this, and all of the things that we just talked about, then we need you, number 1, to get away from them. You're done. Limit your exposure.
Well, and as a manager, maybe you're the owner, is that part of your responsibility is to gauge what's going on in your facility, whether it's whatever type of company it is. And if there's that kind of thing going on, you've got to get rooted out.
Right. Because it will grow.
It will
then
grow,
it festers,
yes.
and people don't like it.
The other 23 people are getting bothered by it.
They don't
right?
like it.
Or it
exactly.
pulls them down.
Right. And we don't want to be around that. So get rid of it and protect them. Don't allow it. And how do you not allow it? Is you go and you talk to them and you tell them what you expect, and then you hold them accountable to those expectations. It's that simple.
And it could be something as simple as, and it sounds simple, but some people don't have this habit, is we're not going to gossip while we're here.
Right. Right.
About other people that work here, about our customers, about anybody.
So I guess that's the first strategy is if you do have a manager or a boss, and maybe he's a nincompoop as it might be described, you don't say it. Don't say it to the people around you. Don't talk about that. That is number 1. So leading up is making sure that if you are more knowledgeable than them, don't let everybody know it and speak about that. That's just not what you do.
Well, that's a good way to put it, is that you do want to always speak well of the boss.
Right. Right. In fact, one of their strategies in here is never badmouth your bosses behind their backs.
Right.
Period.
Ever.
Never, never, never. It's just not right. And really, you shouldn't do that to anyone. sometimes it's easy because I've seen teams where the boss is a good target. Like everybody else feels that way. Well, I'm going to really,
Yeah, and a lot
stop
of
that.
organizations, if you want to complain, you can always look up and complain about the boss. Well, if they did this or they did that, then but that's not above the line behavior, right?
Exactly. Okay, so how about another strategy, Pete?
So one of the things that, and this is from my own personal experience, but it's in here as well, is that if you have something that you think is wrong with the boss's approach or their thinking, or they're not, you don't think they understand the issue as well as you do, go in the office, theirs or yours, close the door and have the discussion with them, just the two of you.
Not in public, not in a meeting.
Out in the facility or out in the plant or with your salespeople. Go and have it with them.
In a safe environment.
Yeah. And get it out and tell them this is, or even schedule it and say, look, I want to talk about this. I need an hour. I need 40 minutes or whatever it is. And shut the door and have a private discussion about it and be open and honest about it.
And that's respect is what that is.
Yeah.
It's respect. It's a respect both ways. So one of the things, it's interesting you said that, Pete. So here's our case study that we talked about. And here's Pete. We're Pete and Peg with Business Talk, and we're business coaches and executive coaches, and we work with companies, for the last 13 years. So some of our learnings is that one time I walked in and this gentleman who I was coaching was really upset. And I said, oh, okay, so did you tell him? Did you talk to him?
Okay.
Well, no, I didn't. Okay, well, it's okay as your coach for you to express things to me. And don't ever say that to someone else, because you need to take action and create a solution. Don't just not go in and tell him and then make the assumption that he's an idiot who doesn't take action. Maybe he doesn't know.
Well, the nice thing that I found, Peg, and it could be some of my makeup, is that if I go into the boss and say, look, how our group, how we're handling this issue, and without being too accusatory, we're handling it, I think we're missing some of the important details, and this is why. Here's the evidence that I have that supports how I feel.
Versus emotion, it's logic.
Versus emotion, just say, look, here's some additional information you may not know. Here are some of the downsides of the approach that we're taking. Here's some positives if we took a different approach. If I win the battle, fine. But if I don't, that's also fine. When I walk out that door, at least I've done everything I can do. And I'm going to go follow the directives, whatever they are, to the best of my ability. But I've let the person know that here's the potential downside. If you still want to go that way, fine. I'll support it. We're going to go do it.
That's the other strategy, is making sure that whatever decisions are made, that you get behind them and support it and march up that hill.
Right.
That's your responsibility. And I like you being able to share your opinion on a factual basis if it differs. And to your point, Pete, if it's not the same, you still have to smart up that hill. I mean, charge up that hill.
Charge up the hill, yeah.
I said smart.
Yeah.
Smartly.
In a smart way.
In a smart way.
And you have to look smart, too.
Yeah. So making sure you do that and that we don't badmouth behind.
Right.
Back. So that's one way of leading up.
Yeah.
That's a really good way.
And it's respectful. And it your boss may appreciate the fact that you educated them as much as possible on the topic at hand, so that when they go out and talk to other employees, they'll have more facts at their disposal than they had before. So at least if the two of you understand everything that you understand, you'll feel like you've done everything you could do.
Well, and this brings up, I had a conversation with a gal, and we were talking about something similar, that there was a blind spot that the boss didn't see.
Okay.
And I said, what if you, instead of complaining that he doesn't see this blind spot, what if you were like his right-hand person and said, oh my gosh, there's a blind spot here. Like you said, it was just exactly what you said. Yeah. And they went in and did that, and they were so grateful they had not seen it.
Great.
They didn't see it.
So you can ask questions, as we do as coaches all the time. We ask questions all day long. Is, have you spent any time in that department in the last few weeks? Have you ever observed an actual call?
There you go.
Maybe we should go witness this ourselves. Let's go look.
Give him or her some heads up. And then the other thing you said, Pete, that is also in this listing is make sure it's private.
Absolutely.
This just recently happened. We were in a meeting. One of my clients was in a meeting, and one of their direct reports starts arguing with them in the meeting.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And it was, and the person conducting the meeting was trying to, make it calmer and And he just wanted this confrontation. And then what we did as the boss is, okay, well, we'll do this offline. Let's.
Right.
But that didn't make that person look good. It looked like he was more about the conflict than about the solution. Even though the solution could have been in it, it was set in a moment of emotion versus logic.
Okay. So it was obvious there was a lot of emotion involved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly. And then, Pete, another strategy that I really like that's on this is don't expect the work to speak for itself.
Oh, yes. That is something, and it depends on how you were raised, but a lot of us were raised in a family where you don't toot your own horn.
Yes.
And it's actually bad if you do that.
Yes.
You know, don't do that. You should brag, right?
Right.
However, we're all busy. All of our managers are busy. Almost everybody's busy. We're trying to hire people. We're growing. Companies are growing rapidly. We have a lot to do. It is a good thing if you periodically, and you can do it very quickly, and it depends on your boss's communication style, which we'll get to in a minute. The next one is
maybe after
to be able to say, look, once a week, every other week, once a month, and certainly once a quarter, is to go into your boss and say, look, here's the top 3 things that are going on in this organization, and here's what I've done with our challenges in each, and here's how I've taken advantage of an opportunity. And you can do it succinctly and not in a bragging way. Just make sure that that person knows the results of your efforts. Okay,
so this is perfectly explained, Pete. Okay, so as you're listening, and again, Pete and I are business coaches. We had an executive client, Pete, on Friday. This was just yesterday. That so I was talking to her, and I said, when was the last time you gave your boss an update on the progress you've made towards this goal? And she said, well, I said, because I can tell you your boss, and most bosses, managers are, I like to call it, they speed through thinking that the result should be faster than it is, because that's their profile, which after the break, we'll talk a little bit about that.
Right.
And so I said, what he's expecting is the goal is for the year. Keep in mind, she's supposed to complete it by December.
Right.
And it's what month? April?
Yeah.
So I said, he's thinking you should be there. Now, you've made great progress, but it's not necessarily things he's seen. He's looking at the end result, not the process. And so what she did is she scheduled an appointment just like you did and said, I'd like to give an update. And she's going to lay it out. I would like to give you an update on the progress we've made towards this goal that you and I set.
So a long-term project may take a lot of steps, a lot of activities, a lot of strategies, and unless you help them understand everything that's happening behind the scenes, they may just say, "Oh, great, good job," and not fully understand what you did to make it happen.
And let me tell you what happened. So last year, true story, she had made great progress, great strides towards the goal. She had not truly communicated along the way what had happened.
Okay.
So what he did at the end of the year when he did his review, he looked at the end goal. But he didn't look at the obstacles that were overcome, the progress that was made. And guess why? She never communicated it.
Right.
So she didn't get a great review, and it wasn't really the way it should have been. She learned from that. And we're going to make sure she toots her own horn this year.
So one suggestion, a lot of times you wait for your boss to schedule a time to talk to you. You need to schedule a time to talk to them. And you don't have to do it too frequently, and you can make it short meetings, but do it.
To learn more about today's topic, call 614-306-7922. Now, back to more business talk.
Okay, we're talking today about how to manage up and how to work with your supervisor, boss, manager, whoever it happens to be, director, president, board, spouse, whatever it is. And one of the things that, and this article is out of the Wall Street Journal from a few days ago, and it's about work and family, and the one of the points that they put on here, and we have some we're going to add ourselves, but is to figure out and adapt to that person's communication style.
And, you know, Pete and I are business coaches, and we have a firm here with several coaches. And Michelle and Don have been on the radio show as well.
They have. Yes.
They have. And we have all these case studies. We have all these examples of what's gone wrong and how we've made it right and what we've done right to get great results. And I got to tell you, out of all of them, Pete, one of the top ones is the strategy we're talking about now, which is adapting your profile and your style to the individual who is your boss or that you're communicating with.
So you've got to figure out are they a fast-paced person or a slow-paced person? Are they more task-oriented or people-oriented? And based on those answers, you can determine what's the best way to communicate with this person and to build a great relationship with them faster.
Well, and here's just a tip, is if they speak really quickly and loud, you know that it's going to be more fast-paced.
Yeah.
If they're going to be more methodical.
And they make decisions quickly, too.
Yes. If they're going to be more methodical and pause,
thoughtful,
and softer spoken, then you know they're going to be a more slower paced person. And that you, in turn, need to approach it in that way.
And if they appear to be energized by completing things, they're task-focused. They like to knock things off a list or get things completed and throw them out and move on to the next thing.
And then if you know that they get energized by being around people and social and excitement, then you know they're going to be more on the people end.
Right.
And so adapting your approach in communication is all the difference in the world. So I want to give you an example. It's not just in your boss that you're trying to adapt to. If you're interviewing for a position. So my daughter, Allie, who is now, golly, she's going to be 17 next week.
Hi, Allie.
Hi, Allie. One of the things is she went for an interview. And I said, okay, tell me what the position is and tell me who is going to be in the interview.
Now, just a comment here. The other students that went through the interview didn't have a business coach helping them before the interview, right?
Generally, no.
Okay.
Yes, a little unfair advantage. Yeah. And but really, one of the things is she said, well, and it's events position and it's people oriented and they want excitement. And I said, okay, the first thing you do when you walk in the room is you're going to be loud, you're going to smile, and you're going to say hi, like very loud. Now, if she was going in to be a finance or a doctor or a nurse, I might tone it down. But your approach, even in how you communicate your greeting, should change based on who that person is, because it creates a bond.
Based on the type of position.
And the position. Well, in the interview, yes, for sure. Yes, you want to know what the position is.
So you want to understand the position. You also want to understand the interviewer.
Mm-hmm. Just like you do your boss. So adapting it's really about knowing that person.
Right. So if you have someone who is a people person who's very fast-paced, and that's your boss, you may want to take them out to lunch and review what you've done in the last month to move this big project forward.
So, Pete, you right before the break, I was talking about the individual who we coached to say, hey, circle back, schedule a time, and tell him what you've done. It's because he's so fast-paced, he loses track.
And
he's on to the next
a fast-paced, task-oriented person. With him, you may schedule 15 minutes and say, look, and it's once a month, 15 minutes. Even if you're on the road,
right.
I'm going to give you 10 bullet points or 5 bullet points of where I'm at with this project. And also, and I've done this with bosses before like that, is on this one, when I get to this stage, I'm going to need your help, and let them know.
Give them a heads up.
I'm going to need you to break this tie when we get there.
So really figuring out and adapting to your boss's communication style. And also,
That's a big one.
And one thing we talk about is, how are you going to seek alignment? Like, how are you going to make sure that you're aligned with your boss? Well, outside of that is another strategy, is just sitting down and having that conversation.
Spending some time with them.
Well, and asking, hey, what is it? So we just did this, Pete. Here's another strategy that Pete and I did with one of our executive clients is, we were noticing that there was a lot of frustration between the boss and the employee. So what we did is we said, we want the two of you to get together and we want you to talk about, how do you like to be communicated with? So
ask them. Yes.
Email, text, phone. Which one is it? In person?
Right.
And it was really interesting because they actually had the wrong communication style for each person. See, the one person kept emailing, and the person wasn't responding email. Email was not the way to communicate.
Right.
And so she was like, well, this is the boss. I'd rather have you text me or call me. Email, I get to last.
And they asked the question, and they got an answer.
And guess what's happening?
Great.
It's wonderful now.
Better. And the other thing is the frequency. In this article, they actually ask, you should ask your manager or executive, how often do you want updates? Daily, weekly, monthly? And are there any topics with which you need immediate feedback?
You know, one of the misguided thoughts of a lot of people who say, well, my boss, this and this and this. And I hear it, especially from younger people. I think as you get older, you get a little wiser through experience, is what's their responsibility to reach out to me? Well, if they want to know, they should tell me. I've heard that a lot as a coach. Well, if they want to know, they'd let me know. And that's actually the opposite. It's your responsibility to communicate. And you're
actually helping them by informing them. And 99% of the time, they're going to appreciate the fact that you took the initiative to let them know what's going on.
And this is Peg and Pete with Business Talk. And today we're talking about leading up, and we're giving you strategies of whether you have a board of directors or a president or a manager director that you report to. How are you going to bridge that gap?
So we've talked about several things so far. We've talked about having conflicts in private. If you have a disagreement or a conflict, do it in private. We've talked about figuring out and adapting to the other person's communication style. So knowing your own and knowing theirs, you can better communicate and work with them. Another one was to specifically ask for frequency and the method of communication with them. So how do you best like communication? Is it email, phone calls? What is it?
Perfect.
And then making sure that you take the initiative to schedule times to give them updates on your overall work progress or on your big projects.
Don't worry about tooting your own horn.
Don't wait.
And it's interesting because I even talk about that with the kids. They're like, well, I don't want to brag. And I said, you don't want to brag. It's not about bragging. We want to factually represent the accomplishments and the goals that we've achieved in order to for them to better understand the progress that's been made. Mm-hmm. That is not bragging. Bragging would be, look at what I did. Look at what I did. No, that's not what we're going to say. We're going to look at it as a holistic.
I like when you change your voice.
Yeah.
So this next one, I like this one. This is avoid escalating problems to the boss too quickly before you've tried solving them yourself. Now, if every hour I run in and go, oh, there's a problem here, I change my voice too.
I like that.
Right?
That was good,
If you
Pete.
keep doing
I like
that. Isn't that why I pay you to prevent and to solve problems when they do occur? Now, if you the Chicken Little story, if you do it 100 times a week, he's going to start closing his door and locking it.
Right.
So,
yes.
I'm exaggerating, but you get the idea. Is that particularly if you're a manager, president, owner of a company, you should just take care of things and bring things to their attention when it's a major issue or you need resources.
Right. And it wouldn't hurt. It was interesting because we were coaching an individual who used to do that. They said, well, I'm not technically the manager, so I don't feel like I can make the decision. So what I'm going to do is keep taking this to the boss, keep taking it. And then we were talking about what is truly a leader. Sam, I'll use Sam. Sam, what's really a leader? A leader will solve the problems, help the team, help the company, and then report back what happened.
Yeah, and the other thing that I always valued as a manager is that if you take your learnings, and if I'm an employee, if I take the learnings from a particular situation and apply them to future situations that are similar, I'm making progress. Right? If I learn something that worked and the boss says, yeah, that actually did work, that was great, and I take that and apply it when something similar happens again, we're going to get better and better and better. And they expect you to do that, to be learning yourself. Well,
and the strategy there is whenever you go and talk to the boss about a problem, absolutely make sure you have some solutions that are options.
That was the next thing on this author's list, was making sure you bring at least one solution.
Right.
Maybe a couple, and maybe some data behind which one would you pick.
Or even
and a recommendation.
Pete, you could even go into your boss and say, hey, listen, this and this has happened. Here's what I would like to do. Here's what the outcome should be. And here's a watch out if you have to get approval. I mean, otherwise you can just do it. It depends on your situation. And tell him the solution that you would pick, just to show him about how you're ready and how you're thinking and how she can trust you, whoever it is, a he or she, to make the right decisions. And it makes you grow, like you said.
Good.
It allows you to grow. Now, as we've gone through the show, if you have just tuned in or you're saying, I know that so-and-so would enjoy listening to this show, go to our website.
Not that so-and-so, but just so-and-so.
Somebody.
Some person.
Yes. Yeah. Go to takeactionbusinesscoaching.com.
Yes.
And then when they go there, what do they do, Pete?
Click on the 98.9 FM icon in the upper right corner.
And you'll see the show. This one will be called Leading Up, and then we'll have several other shows there that are archived that you're welcome to listen to as well.
Could your business use some help? Call 614-306-7922 to schedule your coaching session. 614-306-7922. Now, here's more business talk.
We've been talking today about the right and wrong ways to manage up. And we all have people that are interested in our enterprises.
Right,
It's our
right.
customers, it's our owners, managers, partners, business partners, all those kind of things. And we've been rattling through these various suggestions, and we've added some of our own. One of them is, and some of these are obvious, never badmouth your boss behind their back. Well, yeah, you shouldn't do that with anybody.
Right, exactly.
Right? That's called gossip.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't do that. And then never embarrass your boss in front of others. Well, of course not.
But you know what's funny, you guys? This does happen.
It's common sense.
It does
right?
happen, though, in
But it
our
does
workforce.
happen. Right.
And so we just are here to remind you of the right and wrong. I mean, and if you want to move up in the company, these are going to be important strategies. It's all about people.
And the next one, now this is a challenging one because we're all, most of us are in very fast-paced organizations. A lot is expected of us. Avoid overload by asking your boss for help prioritizing projects rather than saying no.
That's a good one. That is a good one. And it's how you say it. It's, well, right now I have 1, 2, and 3 is a priority.
Right.
Because of that, this just happened. I have to tell you, we were coaching. This is a president of a division of a company. And he was in our coaching session. He's like, okay, right now I'm overloaded. I'm completely overloaded. And I said, well, if you're overloaded, you have to look in the mirror because that's your fault because you kept allowing things. And she said, well,
taking work on.
She goes, well, how am I supposed to do it? They want me to do this. And I said, well, it's how many times are you saying no? Mm-hmm. Because what you're doing is they don't realize the level that you're at. They don't. They're busy too. So what you have to do is go back and tell them, here's what my priorities are. It's exactly that. And I can't do this very important project you've asked me to do because the others will sacrifice.
Right.
And it was great because guess what happened? After they had been arguing, lack of a better word, arguing, I don't know, going back and forth with this one project.
Having a disagreement.
Of this project shouldn't be on. And then I said, and then she took it on. I said, how much do they really know that's on your plate? And do they really understand the priorities?
It's communication, really.
It was a communication thing.
Okay.
And how much do they really understand what they're asking? And guess what? She sat down, took the time, factually, not emotionally, described what needed to happen, and it worked out really well.
Well, and sometimes it may be easier if you're an individual contributor versus someone who's got a large organization. But even then, you can if you can have a calm discussion with your manager about this and say, look, I've got the team is focused on these 2 priorities. In a number of weeks, priority number 1 will be done, or to a point where we can reduce our manpower on that and move on to the next thing. But sometimes you just have to stop and work on something that becomes urgent.
Absolutely.
And when it happens, you've got to do it, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, that's just part of the communication. So overall, I think the biggest issue with you leading up has really been, Pete, as I'm looking back all the strategies throughout the show, it's been a lot about communication.
Yeah, and be respectful and understanding the other person as well as yourself, but making sure you understand their communication style. How do they want to handle disagreements? How do they want to handle discussions? How do they like information delivered to them? Written, verbal, what is it?
Right.
Do they want a weekly summary from you? What would they prefer?
And you need to take responsibility for the. It was interesting. I had a salesperson who had a sales manager, and the sales manager was saying, "Oh, he's not doing much. He doesn't do that. He doesn't work that hard." I was coaching the salesperson, and I said, "Well, to salesperson, I'll call him Sam. Sam, how often are you sitting down one-on-one, going through your plan, your activity, and your results?" And he literally said, "Well, he never makes an appointment with me." I said, well, there's your issue.
Yeah, you need to take ownership.
You need to take ownership of the appointment. I said, because perception and reality can be 2 separate things, and their perception is different than the reality. It's up to you to create a reality and a perception that is one.
Well, and the other thing, and I like this as a manager, is that if I have an employee that comes to me and schedules time to talk to me about a specific thing, to update me, and then does it again in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I appreciate the fact that they took the initiative to do it, and it helps me manage my time too.
Exactly.
And I don't forget about this employee for 2 months. They've come to me and educated me a little bit and taken off, and it's like, thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I like that.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. So
and if you have questions, give us a call, 614-306-7922. We'll be glad to talk to you about
that was quick. 614-306-7922. Oh, that's almost like a song.
It could be if you sing it.
There we go. And what we'll do is when you do call us, is we will set up a time to chat, and then we can talk about your company, your situation as an individual, and how we might be able to help you.
So what does a coach do, Peg?
So a coach is first. It's about three things really. It's about education, figuring out how to learn, how to grow. Because wherever you are and wherever you need to be, the difference is what you need to learn. So that's the first thing. Whether we teach you, give you the resources, we accelerate learning with our teams, with individuals. Number one, learning.
Right.
Number two is we figure out and brainstorm how that applies to your situation. We do that through case studies, the 13 years of experience, and the hundreds and hundreds of clients we've coached, and give you case studies and tell you what's going on. And then you pick, and then the third, and that's the most important, is you take the action, is implementation.
Implementation, yeah.
And that's what coaching's all
You
about.
got to take action.
And
then you learn from the results of those actions, and we move forward. Every time you're moving forward.
And I'd like to say we work with super achievers because there are people who want to change and want to achieve. And that's what I call a super achiever. It doesn't mean that, it just means that you want to grow. I want to be an achiever and I want to go somewhere other than I am now. Well, then you want a coach by your side to accelerate that and to make it farther and go faster. Everybody we work with grows, period.
Right.
It's just you have to be ready to want to do it because you have to be open to learning. You have to want to grow and you have to follow through.
And we really should be looking for employees and managers that want to grow as well. Right?
In fact, as you're listening, we have a executive that we coached. He was a vice president.
Right.
One of the top people leaders that we have coached ever. And that's to say, one of the top.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No doubt.
Without a doubt. And he is now looking to join a new organization.
Right.
And if you are interested in someone that is awesome,
give us a call, 614-306-7922. And this individual has had a lot of experience in manufacturing and distribution and is an excellent, as Peg said, excellent people person. And he's a developer of other leaders. He's great at developing others.
So if you're looking for somebody as a general manager, president, vice president, director level, he is interested, and you can give us a call. I like that. Okay.
Great.
Or you can contact us on our website. If you're driving and you're like, I can't write down that number, just go to takeactionbusinesscoaching.com, and you'll see a contact list on there. And you'll see as soon as it comes up, it says, you put in your name and number, and we can contact you that way too.
Perfect.
All right, Pete, what's
we've
next?
Talked a lot about maintaining your employees and keeping great employees, because the market at all levels, technical, professional, managerial, factory floor, all levels, it's challenging. It's not impossible, but it's challenging to find enough great people to be able to run our businesses. And this article here that we're looking at is about education moving to the factory floor. A lot of companies, and this is an example, Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories in Pullman, Washington, employees of the company are taking classes in algebra, physics, and writing on the factory floor, and they check out books from the company library. So their AT&T is investing more than $1 billion with a B to retrain 100,000 workers through a patchwork of classes and programs that are helping them retool the Dallas-based company. So they're training their employees themselves, and they're investing lots of money to do it.
And that's one thing that we want to encourage you is how much are you investing in training? So Pete and I are trainers, and we go into organizations all the time. You should be, if you're not, developing your people. And it's interesting because
yourself,
absolutely.
We were at a conference a few weeks ago in San Diego, which is actually warm.
Yes.
And one of the speakers suggested that you should spend 10%. If you're making $100,000, you should be spending $10,000 a year on your own development.
Which makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
And that should be your goal. And what is your goal for your team? So training. And in one of our next shows, in fact, let's make it next Saturday. Our next show. Next Saturday. Remember, it's Chris Voss.
2 weeks. We'll talk about a whole process.
Yes, the 7 steps to engagement of your team. I like it.
There's more examples in here. So, and this applies to us too, because we have a couple of engineering companies, and one of the reasons we have to teach people ourselves is this this company, Novellus, says it takes 5 years to get a new engineering grad up to speed. So if we can do that faster, it says we had to shorten the time to about 2 years. So they've taken 3 years off of that by putting huge resources into training and development to shorten the amount of time it takes to get somebody up to speed.
But that does make sense. It does make sense. So what is your training process, and what is it that, which is a big thing, what is your training process? How long does it take to get people up?
The other thing it says in there, it's kind of interesting. Technology is changing faster than colleges and schools can keep up with. So they're not teaching the things that the businesses actually need. They're not changing as fast as the technology and the systems and the processes. They're just not doing it. So companies have to do it themselves. We've got to do it ourselves. You
know, it was interesting as far as, like you said, engineering. I was talking to one of our engineering firms, and they said, you know, with engineers, they come out, but really their MBA and their doctorate is at the business level, not at the school level. The school only gets them so ready, and then it's like, now I got to learn once I'm in a company. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I experienced that in engineering school. I knew all the math and the chemistry behind it. But until you get out in the plant, you don't really know. You don't know anything.
You don't know.
Until you get started.
Right.
And it takes a while to figure it out.
Right. And so what is that training program, making sure? And I like, what is Brad Sugars? Now, we've had Brad Sugars on our show, Pete, before. What's his quote? You hear, well, if I train them, then they'll leave. And then he says, but if you...
What if you don't?
What if you don't train them and they stay?
And they stay.
I like that. That's one of my favorites.
So this gentleman asked the question, if Thomas Edison walked through the door today, would we turn him away because we don't have a job opening for an inventor? His own father dropped out of college and went on to hold 100 patents. So you just have to figure out, what are you going to do as the owner or the president or the CEO of your company to make sure you're developing your people at all levels. So one, so that they stay, right?
Right.
And we retain them, but also so that we get the best out of everyone.
Because guess what? We could not train them, and then they'd stay. I like that.
Okay.
Well, again, go to takeactionbusinesscoaching.com to hear this show in its entirety or any of our archived shows. Just click on 98.9 in the upper right-hand corner.
This has been Business Talk, your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed were those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given was not intended to replace that of your business advisor. For more information about the topics discussed today, call 614-306-7922. 614-306-7922. Tune in next week at this time for more Business Talk, your business, your success.